was 18. I had the extraordinary privilege of spending a summer in Japan. Tried to learn to speak Japanese. I learned it a little bit, but there were sounds that the American ear cannot hear. The adult American ear cannot hear because we didn't learn these when we were young. The brain develops. There's a period in life after birth where the circuitry of the brain is actually laid down as fine-tuned based on how we use our brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so our language parts of the brain are wired and made permanent by puberty to use the language that we are using when we're young. And you can use that basic structure to speak other languages, but not as well as when you're young.
Bateson also had this idea of how do we know, how do we come to know. And in a way, for him, mind didn't exist inside ourselves, but was always in that connection with the ecology we were involved in, community we were involved in, that it extended beyond our body, if you like, sphere, and became connected with the environment, whatever that environment was, and the sequences of events around that environment. We can't say that that knowledge belongs to any one of us, and yet we were all part of making it.
We have talked about, the infant brain and how it's developing, the plasticity of the child. I have done studies on diffusion tensor imaging, looking at very small children and seeing how the human brain at that point is essentially water. It's gray matter, and the white matter doesn't really evolve until the age of about 2, when things start growing. These kids that grow up playing computer games, they have fundamentally different brains than what we have. They are wired in different ways because they're being exposed to these kinds of environments. They become very much more visual. Their attention span is shorter than our attention span. And they become phenomenal at interacting in other ways that we are not very good at. So in some sense, this is an indicator of how the technology is influencing not only how we are, but what we are, in some sense. The human brain is different because of the development of these technologies.
You can't stop technology. It's just going to happen. People are going to continue to create and innovate. And I think it's going to lead to some really good things. I was talking to Robert, I think. He was showing me the very first server that was used to create the World Wide Web. And that's something, as a person in my generation, I would not have imagined in existence, because now I think of the elements of the planet as earth, air, water, the internet, fire. Something like that, right? The internet always kind of existed. That's the kind of life I live anyways.